Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing another book on Hokusai. This was an artist who did Japanese woodblock prints, and I found a book specifically devoted to him maybe a couple weeks ago, and I read it and I really enjoyed it. So when I went back to my library, I wanted to see if they had anything else by this artist or that it showed the art of this artist, because I was interested in learning more, and they did. So this is a thin little volume. It's actually a Metropolitan Museum of Art Bulletin from summer 1985, and I'm not entirely sure what these Metropolitan Museum of Art bulletins are. There seems to be a number of them when I looked online, and I'm not sure if the bulletins showcased what was going to be shown in the museum during that period or that season, or each bulletin existed to kind of showcase artists and it was just a place for people to talk about art. I'm not entirely sure why the pieces that were put in this were selected to be in this, but it is about Hokusai, so it's going to serve my purposes. It's kind of set up as mostly pictures, so mostly the actual art that the artist did throughout the book, and there are some brief notes at the beginning. There's a director's note, which is just a little discussion from the director, and then a brief little essay by A. Hyatt Mayer. So we have an essay, and then we have notes on Hokusai's woodblock prints by Yasuko Bachaku, and then we get right into the art. Now each piece, each woodblock print has a little description that the contributors, the compilers of this Museum of Art, Metropolitan Museum of Art Bulletin have put here, so you're not left entirely in the dark, and you have about, I don't know, is this 60 pages of just woodblock, oh no, a little under 40 or a little over 40 selections of Hokusai's work. So some of the pieces that I have seen, that I saw in this particular bulletin, I saw in the other book on Hokusai that I got out. So some of them were not new. Some of them are obviously very, very familiar. The one that he is best known for is his piece, The Great Wave, which is included in this. This is one of the most recognizable pieces of art in art history. I'm sure we've all seen this piece. This was included in the other book that I read on Hokusai, and it's included in this one. It is his most well-known piece, but there's also a variety of other pieces, some that were in the other book that I read and some that were unique to this book. Two things that I particularly wanted to point out with regard to this particular volume is, first of all, the emphasis which is placed again in this book on the age and the maturation of Hakusai as an artist. This book, or this volume, I don't know what to call this bulletin particularly makes note of the fact that he did not come into his full potential until much later in life. I believe it said his 60s, and the artist recognized that and actually wrote about that, and he sees that he has matured into a better artist through age. Last year, I think it was maybe 2022, maybe all the way back in 2021 already, I read a couple books that talked about, in particular, the West's obsession with youth and peaking young and doing your best work when you're 21, 22, 23. We have a real aversion to age. We really look down on aging and the age process. But in reading some of those books, I believe one of the books was Breaking the Age Code. There's a lot of benefits that come to with aging, and there's a lot that gets better with age. Which is something we don't think about a lot in the West, I think. And it's very interesting to see that this is an artist who art historians look back and say if he hadn't continued to produce art as he got older, if he had stopped when he was 30 years old, thinking that he had done the best work that he could have done, he wouldn't have produced the things that he is known for, and he might have just been relegated to a footnote in art history. So the fact that he continued to produce and he got better as he got older is a real testament to the things that we do better as we age. Not saying you can't be a fabulous artist in your 20s, but it's showing that just because you haven't peaked or you think you haven't peaked in, say, your 30s or 40s doesn't mean that you don't have a lot in store. It's almost as though Hokusai needed that time to mature, to develop his style, to get experience before he could really bloom into the full artist that we now know and appreciate him to have been. So I really liked that aspect. That aspect was emphasized in the last book on Hokusai that I read, and it's emphasized again in this book. So I think it's just a theme throughout his work, and it's something that's really worth thinking about, meditating on as you look at this art, to just think about the preconceived notions we have about aging and some of the benefits that come with age, some of the things that you can do better as you age, such as maybe synthesizing your life experience to produce richer or fuller art. So that is the first thing that I wanted to mention, is just that aspect was included in this bulletin as well. The second thing, on a little bit of a lighter note, is I feel like this bulletin does a really good job of combining, I don't want to say serious versus like lighthearted art, but because I feel like it's all art, but some of Hokusai's sense of humor comes out, or things that show lightheartedness, humor. Art pieces that are just a little bit more fun are definitely included in this book, and it's worth looking at and recognizing that you can have a laugh at a piece of art that people several hundred years ago would have also found amusing. So I think that was balanced very well in this bulletin, combining those pieces that are a little bit funnier, a little bit more lighthearted, and they're mixed in with other just wonderful pieces of art throughout. Now, this book is older, or this bulletin, again, I'm calling it a book, but it really is kind of a bulletin, is a little older. It says on the cover, summer 1985. So I'm not sure where you would purchase this or where you would get this. I'm sure there are some for sale online. I was just fortunate enough to be able to come across a copy of this that I could read and review. So I'm not sure if you wanted to read this where you could find it. I'm sure that you could find some online, but it is a little older, which I feel like might be more difficult, which might make it more difficult for you to obtain it if you're looking for a copy. But I don't think the age really detracts from the quality of this book. It still is a great selection of this artist's work and is worth giving a read and a look through if you are able to obtain a copy. I would probably rate this 4-star. I would really the thing that would probably keep it from pushing it up to a 5-star is I would like a little bit more commentary at the beginning from either the curators or someone who's knowledgeable on Hokusai's art. Maybe just a little bit longer of an essay at the beginning to give me a little more context. Fortunately, I don't feel like I was missing too much context because I had read another book specifically on Hokusai, and then I have read several other books at this point on Japanese woodblock prints. So that is just kind of one of the things that would just prevent it from being 5-star, but I would very much recommend this book if you can find it. I would highly recommend it. The other thing that I feel like they maybe could have highlighted a little bit better was at the very last page, on this page that just includes the credits. It's after all the pieces are done. So here's your last piece from the book, and you flip the page and you think it's over, but there's a whole section on how Japanese woodblock prints are made down here at the bottom. And I feel like this was, I don't know, maybe poor design, because I feel like if you didn't know it was here, you might not read it. And it was very interesting, and I only found it as a like after effect because I was looking at these pictures on the back page, and I was like, oh, there's a whole thing here about how the Japanese wood blocks were printed. So make sure you check out this. If you are able to get a copy and read this, make sure you check out this last page and don't skip over it. I really enjoyed this bulletin book, for lack of a better word, and I hope that you are able to check it out and enjoy it. If you have any comments or any books to suggest for me, I would love to hear it in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.